In the old world, your enemies were easy to identify. They had a sword in their hand and a snarl on their face. They declared their intentions with open hostility. The lines of the battlefield were clearly drawn, and you knew, at the very least, from which direction the attack would come. But we are civilized people. We live in a world of open-plan offices, of polite social gatherings, and of carefully worded professional emails. In this world, our enemies have not disappeared. They have simply learned to smile. This is the new and far more dangerous kind of adversary, the kind enemy. It is the colleague who begins a sentence with all due respect, right before they publicly eviscerate your idea in a meeting. It is the friend who showers you with compliments only to deliver a devastating piece of gossip about you to your social circle, framed as an act of deep concern. It is the business rival who shakes your hand, wishes you well, and then quietly works behind the scenes to sabotage your reputation. They do not come at you with a sword. They come at you with a smile, with plausible deniability, and with the language of help and support. They are the smiling vipers of the modern world. And this new form of warfare is far more exhausting than the old one. An open enemy declares war. You can see them coming. You can prepare your defenses. But the kind enemy operates in a thick and disorienting fog. Their attacks are so subtle, their motives so cloaked in the language of kindness, that to even identify their action as an attack can make you seem paranoid, ungrateful, or overly sensitive. They make you doubt your own perceptions. Did they really mean to undermine me? You ask yourself. Or am I just imagining things? This psychological battle, this constant state of questioning your own reality, is infinitely more draining than any open conflict. Our modern morality has not prepared us for this fight. We have been taught to be nice, to assume the best in people, to avoid conflict, and to give others the benefit of the doubt. We have, in essence, been trained to be the perfect, unsuspecting victims for the kind enemy. So where can we turn for a more realistic guide to this modern battlefield of politeness? We must turn to the one man in history who had the courage to look at human nature without illusion, to see the world not as we wish it were, but as it actually is. The great, feared, and profoundly misunderstood strategist of power, Niccolò Machiavelli. He is seen as a teacher of tyrants, but it is more accurate to see him as a doctor who provides a brutal but necessary diagnosis of the human condition. He understood the hidden motives, the secret ambitions, and the subtle strategies that people use to get ahead. He is the ultimate guide to the world of smiling vipers. And he did not just diagnose the problem, he provided the antidote. Buried within his work are a set of clear, pragmatic, and timeless rules for surviving, and even thriving, in a world filled with kind enemies. This video will reveal the 3 most essential of those rules. These are not rules for becoming a monster. They are rules for learning how not to be eaten by one. To understand the rise of the kind enemy, we must first understand the unique battlefield on which they operate. We tend to believe that we live in a more enlightened and civilized age than the brutal Renaissance world of Machiavelli. We have laws, we have human resources departments, we have a complex system of social etiquette, all designed to smooth over the rough edges of human conflict. Overt aggression and naked ambition are punished. And yet the conflict remains. The ambition remains. The human drive for power and status has not been magically erased. So what has changed? It is not our fundamental nature that has changed. It is the rules of the battlefield. As we have explored before, the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche provided the most powerful diagnosis of our modern moral landscape. He argued that we have inherited what he called a slave morality, a value system born from the resentment of the weak against the strong. For 2,000 years, this system has been brilliantly successful at inverting the old noble values. It has taught us to be suspicious of pride, to feel guilty about our own ambition, and to see assertiveness as a form of cruel aggression. In its place, it has elevated the virtues of the lamb, humility, pity, and a gentle agreeableness. In our modern, secular world, the ultimate social sin is to be seen as not a nice person. We are expected, above all else, to be pleasant, to be cooperative, and to avoid conflict. But here we must confront the brutal realism of Machiavelli. While our moral software has been updated with the code of niceness, our biological hardware remains largely unchanged. Machiavelli's great and enduring insight was that the human animal, beneath its thin veneer of civilization, is and always will be primarily driven by a core set of unchangeable motivations. We are driven by our own self-interest. We are driven by a desire for more security, more status, and more resources for ourselves and our tribe. We are driven by a fear of losing what we have. These are not cynical judgments. They are simply clinical observations of our nature. And this creates the central conflict of modern social life. We possess the primal, self-interested drives of a Renaissance prince, but we are forced to operate in a social system that demands we act like a humble and selfless saint. This is the fertile ground from which the kind enemy grows. The truly ambitious, the truly ruthless players in our world understand this paradox perfectly. They know that they cannot act like a ravenous wolf in a society that professes to worship the gentle lamb. That would be foolish and counterproductive. And so they have learned to become the perfect predator for this new environment. They have learned to become a wolf in sheep's clothing. This is the new battlefield of politeness. It is a sophisticated and exhausting game where the primal Machiavellian drives for power must be played out from behind a convincing mask of Nietzschean goodness. The kind enemy is the master of this game. They have perfected the art of using the language of our shared morality, the language of support, of collaboration, of fairness, of just wanting what's best for everyone, as the primary vehicle for their own relentless and singular self-interest. They have understood that in a world that fears the snarl of the wolf, the most effective way to hunt is with the gentle and disarming smile of the viper. To understand the viper's smile, you must first have felt its venom, and I confess I have. My own, most brutal education in the art of the kind enemy did not come from a book, but at the hands of a master of the craft. It was early in my career, and I was working with a colleague who I deeply admired. They were charismatic, intelligent, and incredibly supportive. They would publicly praise my work in meetings. They would send encouraging emails. They would often stop by my desk to share a piece of advice or a word of encouragement. In a competitive and often stressful environment, they felt like a true ally, an experienced mentor who had taken me under their wing. I did not just respect them, I genuinely liked them. I thought we were friends. And because I felt this sense of safety and camaraderie, I let my guard down completely. I mistook a professional relationship for a personal confession booth. In moments of perceived friendship, over a coffee or after a long day at the office, I would share everything. I would confess my doubts and insecurities about the projects we were working on. I'm not sure this part of the strategy is strong enough, I might say, hoping for their wise counsel and reassurance. I would openly share my best, most undeveloped ideas, my future plans, my ambitions, believing that we were collaborating, that a victory for one of us was a victory for the team. I saw our relationship as an alliance built on mutual trust. I did not realize that for them, it was an intelligence-gathering operation. The attacks, when they came, were never a direct assault. They were a series of brilliant, subtle, and perfectly deniable acts of political jujitsu. That insecurity I had confessed about a part of my project, it was later brought up by my friend in a meeting with a senior manager, framed not as my doubt, but as their own astute, critical insight. "I'm a little concerned about the viability of this section," they would say with a thoughtful expression. The brilliant idea I had shared in a moment of creative excitement, it was repackaged and presented weeks later as the brilliant solution they had come up with over the weekend. Every vulnerability I had shared became a weapon to be used against me, not to destroy me outright, but to subtly diminish my value and elevate their own. And the true genius of their operation was that their outward demeanor never changed. They would continue to smile, to offer encouragement, to publicly praise me, sometimes even for the very work they were systematically taking credit for behind the scenes. They would offer to help me solve the very problems and doubts they themselves had just strategically exposed to our superiors. And this is the unique and exquisite torture of dealing with a kind enemy. I was living in a gaslit reality. My gut, my animal instinct was screaming that I was under attack. But the evidence was so subtle, the perpetrator so relentlessly pleasant, that my rational mind began to doubt itself. Am I just being paranoid? I would ask myself. Am I insecure? Am I ungrateful for all their help? The kind enemy doesn't just defeat you. They make you believe that the defeat was your own fault. They make you question your own sanity. When the promotion we were both competing for was inevitably given to them, the deepest wound was not the professional loss. It was the profound and terrifying loss of trust in my own perception of reality. I had not just been outmaneuvered in a game of office politics. I had been psychologically dismantled. I had been, in the most literal sense of the phrase, killed by kindness. To awaken to the reality of the kind enemy is to feel a profound sense of disillusionment. The immediate temptation is to either retreat into a shell of paranoid suspicion, trusting no one, or to become a cynical player yourself, adopting the very tactics that were used against you. But both of these paths lead to a life of isolation and bitterness. There is a third way. It is not the path of aggression, but the path of strategy. It is the path of learning the rules of this hidden game, not to become a ruthless predator, but to ensure that you are no longer the unsuspecting prey. This is the art of defensive Machiavellianism, and it is built upon three fundamental rules. The first and most important rule is this: judge only actions, ignore all words. You must train yourself through conscious and deliberate practice. 2. Treat the words of a potential kind enemy as irrelevant data. Erase their compliments from your memory. Mute their promises of future support. Their words are the smokescreen, the fog of war designed to confuse and disarm you. The only truth, the only signal in all the noise, is their actions and the outcomes of those actions. After every significant interaction with a person you suspect may be a kind enemy, you must perform a cold and dispassionate analysis. Ask yourself, what was the tangible result of that conversation? Did their helpful advice actually lead to my project being delayed or sidelined? Did their supportive feedback subtly introduce doubt about my competence into the minds of my superiors? Who, in the end, actually benefited from that exchange? This practice removes the emotional confusion of their kindness and replaces it with the irrefutable logic of outcomes. Actions do not lie. The second rule is the natural consequence of the first. You must learn to conceal your true intentions. In a world of open, honorable enemies, transparency can be a sign of confidence. In a world of kind enemies, transparency is a fatal strategic blunder. Your deepest ambitions, your secret vulnerabilities, your moments of doubt, and your most brilliant undeveloped plans are all forms of intelligence that a kind enemy will gather and use against you at the opportune moment. The practice, then, is not to become a liar, but to become a master of ambiguity. You must learn to speak about your goals in generalities. You must learn to listen more than you speak. You must learn to show your cards one at a time, and only when necessary. Treat your true intentions like the innermost chamber of a fortress. Many people may be welcomed into the public courtyard, but only your most trusted, time-tested allies are ever allowed access to that final, protected room. A kind enemy cannot attack a target that they cannot fully see or understand. The third rule is the most proactive. It is the art of mastering the economy of favor and firmness. Your time, your energy, your praise, and your willingness to help are all forms of currency. The naive person gives this currency away freely to everyone, believing it will be reciprocated. The strategist understands that it must be invested wisely. You must use your generosity not as a random act of kindness, but as a deliberate investment, to build a small circle of powerful and genuinely reliable allies, people whose self-interest you have consciously and deliberately aligned with your own. Conversely, you must learn to use what Machiavelli called cruelty. In our world, this is not violence. It is the courage to be firm. It is the ability to set a hard boundary, to say no clearly and without apology, to make a difficult but necessary decision that you know will make others unhappy. The rule is to use this firmness rarely, but when you do, to use it quickly, decisively, and without wavering. This teaches the kind enemies around you a crucial lesson, that your kindness is a conscious choice, not a congenital weakness. It is the final essential piece of the puzzle, the demonstration that the gentle dove has the wisdom and the capacity of the serpent. We began this journey with the chilling image of the smiling viper, the kind enemy who has mastered the art of waging war from behind a mask of politeness. After exploring the brutal, clear-eyed realism of Machiavelli, it is easy to arrive at a simple and cynical conclusion that the only way to survive in a world of vipers is to become a more venomous viper yourself. That to win the game, you must become its most ruthless and deceptive player. But this is the wrong lesson. To adopt the tactics of your enemy without a higher purpose is to hand them their ultimate victory. It is to allow their cynicism to poison your own soul. The true goal of this difficult knowledge is not to become a monster, but to learn how to defend yourself from them. There is an ancient piece of wisdom that says we must be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. This is the perfect summary of the art of defensive Machiavellianism. The three rules, judging actions, concealing intentions, and mastering the economy of favor, are the wisdom of the serpent. They teach you to see the world as it is, to understand the mechanics of power, to recognize hidden motives, and to be strategic in your own self-preservation. But this cunning must always be placed in the service of the integrity of the dove. Your goal is not deception for its own sake, but clarity. Your aim is not to harm, but to prevent harm from being done to you and to the things you value. The ultimate path is to synthesize these two qualities, to be a good, honest, and well-intentioned person who is also shrewd, perceptive, and utterly unafraid to be formidable when the situation demands it. This is the synthesis that creates a truly resilient and powerful individual, a person who can navigate the battlefield of politeness without losing either the war or their own character. Navigating a world of kind enemies requires this difficult synthesis of wisdom and integrity. If you are ready to learn the strategies for a stronger and more realistic life, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. And now, share your own wisdom in the comments below. Tell us, what is one small sign that tells you that a kind person might actually be an enemy? Your insight could be the warning that someone else needs to see clearly.